Hello and welcome to Let's Talk Sports. I am Ralph Labella.
And I'm Ron Sen, and I approve this message. Well, we're doing a TV show, although we don't seem to be showing up on air very much, Ralph. But first of all, they have random drug testing being initiated at the University of Oregon because, God forbid, some of those kids may have smoked a joint here or there. Probably did a lot of steroids and HGH, but who cares about that?
Right. I'd like to see what they're testing them for. You know they're not testing them for HGH or steroids. Because if they were, they'd be the only team that was, you got to figure that every team they're going up against, the linemen, the linebackers, running backs, they're all on it, Ron. They have to be.
Well, it's big business. And there's a lot of other news in college football, too. At Penn State, Sweet Caroline's been banned. No surprise there, because they don't want anybody reaching out and touching anybody.
Yeah, that was a shame last game. I watched some of it. They were ahead, and then all of a sudden they just fell apart.
I didn't really know who to root for. You know, they pay these teams a couple $100,000 to come in and get beat, and Ohio comes in and wins.
Did they sell out Penn State for that game?
I don't know.
I think they might have.
It was a pretty big crowd, and they were enthusiastic.
But that's a shame. The whole situation's a disaster. Hopefully O'Brien can keep things going.
Well, there was a major death in the sports world today. Former Cleveland Brown and Baltimore Raven owner Art Modell. And as many people as you talk to about Modell, you get strong feelings. And you can bet that those strong feelings don't include love for a lot of people, as Modell kidnapped the Browns, took them to Baltimore to become the Ravens in 1996, and never really lived that down.
How old was he, Ron?
He was 87 years old. He's a controversial figure because he was kind of a marketing genius. He was the one behind the idea for Monday Night Football and also for football in prime time, such as Thanksgiving Day. So he really did a lot to promote the sport, but created chaos. Cleveland lost their franchise. The NFL then promised Cleveland they'd get a franchise back. There was a lot of backroom dealings. While he was the Cleveland owner, he charged the Indians so much that they ultimately built their own stadium. So he's a controversial guy, but nobody's neutral about Art Modell.
Right. Now all those franchises are worth over $1 billion now, Ron. It's unbelievable how much they've gone up.
Right. The Patriots were recently estimated to be worth $1.6 billion, second highest in the NFL.
And Kraft paid how much for them? 300-something million? And then the stadium on top of that.
I remember when the deal was going down, people were saying Kraft doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't have the money to do this. He's a dope, and who's laughing now?
Look at the LA Dodgers. It's unbelievable. They sold that team for 2-point-something million.
Billion, right.
Billion, and they have that big contract coming up.
And we'll get into that. Today there was information about who has the highest average ticket price in the National Football League. The good news is the Patriots were only second at $117.84, way down 10 cents below the New York Jets.
I know. The Jets were number 1 and the Pats were number 2.
And down at the bottom, I think Cleveland and Buffalo were in the mid-50s.
And they got that huge waiting list, too, the Patriots. I know at one time it was like 48,000 fans on the waiting list. But what's going to happen after Brady goes? You wonder what Belichick's going to do then. I don't think Mal's going to be another Brady, and hopefully Brady lasts for a couple more years.
Well, it sounds like he wants to play till he can collect Social Security, so they better get some better offensive linemen.
Yeah, comes down to the offensive line and the defense. Hopefully this year is a lot better.
Elsewhere in the National Football League, there's some not so shocking news that degenerative brain disease is much higher in National Football League graduates, and that there are apparently 3 times the incidence in other professionals of Alzheimer's disease, Lou Gehrig's disease, and Parkinson's disease. So taking a lot of hits over time does some bad things to your brain.
Right, and that starts in high school too. And they say Pop Warner, they were talking today, they said the problem with Pop Warner is that most of the coaches don't know how to coach it. I mean, I see some good coaches in Melrose, people that have played the game and have coached the game, working with the younger kids. But, and I coached Pop Warner for 4 years when my son played, and you're always worried about the head. You always want an attacker, you keep your head up, and then that's the key. But you got to figure they're getting concussions in Pop Warner, high school, and then going to college if they stay in it. In the pros, it's ridiculous, Ron.
Well, watching the Patriots in preseason, a player to me who looks like he's got absolutely brilliant fundamentals tackling is Ebner, because he's a rugby player. You can't tackle with your head. There's no helmet.
So they drill the shoulders right into them, which you're supposed to do. But you know where you get them too, Ron, is when they get hit and they go back and hit the back of their head. You know, that's where they get concussions. But you look at it, the thing that always bothered me, when you hear the linemen say they should put skirts on quarterbacks, and I've always said that they're trying to protect the quarterbacks because they have no defense. When they're throwing a football, where's their defense? You know, they're open up to get whacked. So, and they're trying to take it away the knees, and they're trying to take away the head.
Right.
You know, and these linemen, they want them to hit them up, you know, around the chest area or the stomach. You know, and then you have the linemen who don't care. They'll still go at the knees and they'll still go at the head. But then how about the poor receivers that are crossing across the middle, Ron? There's no defense there either for them. They're just standing there with they're not even looking at the defensive backs and they're drilling them.
Well, it'll be interesting to see with the replacement referees how it goes. Apparently in last night's Giants-Cowboys game, won by the Cowboys, and I don't know if that's good or bad, but the officials did a pretty good job as replacements.
Yeah, one play when Cruz, a big play in the game. Cruz was on the 5-yard line, Dallas's 5-yard line. He was cutting across the middle. The guy held him, took his break away. Manning threw the ball, missed him by a foot. The guy, he would have definitely been there, Cruz, for the touchdown. He would have run it in, and they didn't see it. But when the regular officials there, they miss a lot too. So.
Sure. Well, elsewhere in New York, apparently, surprisingly, or not so much, Mark Sanchez was stunned when they signed Tim Tebow. Sanchez thought the job was his. I guess he thought that was his for life, no competition, and apparently he's getting used to it now. But you know, we don't really know how players view the wheelings and dealings that go on.
Well, there's two ways it can go. You know, he has competition, so he's going to work harder, you know, in the playbook, understand the game, really get into it more, become a better player. There's another way, too. If he starts feeling bad about himself and saying, oh, you know, if I throw an interception, I'm going to be sitting, fans are going to boo me, they're going to want Tebow, that's more pressure on him. So, you know, it can go either way, Ron.
Well, you certainly got the gestalt from Sanchez that he was kind of a good-time Charlie, party boy. It was important to be a celebrity, be out with the starlets, and you know, when the Patriots were winning Super Bowls, the quarterback was around all year round and dedicated full year to football. Now, you know, he's got a life. He's got 2 children and a third one on the way. You know, and I'm sure he still cares, but is he able to put the same obsession into football as he did as a young player?
Yeah, if Sanchez is ever going to get to the point where they want him to be, he's going to do it now. I mean, if he doesn't do it now, forget about it. Because he has to understand that the fans are going to be on him now with Tebow waiting for him, you know, waiting for him to have a problem. But I still think they're going to play Tebow in certain situations.
Right. Well, we were talking before the show about the evolution of your knowledge in a sport, and the subject came up about Dane Fletcher, who's out this season with an ACL injury for the Patriots. And there was an article about him, and he said, well, maybe it's a blessing because now I'm going to really be able to get to study football, learn everything about football I can this year. He said, I thought I knew a lot about football when I came here, having played it in college. He said, I realized I knew almost nothing about football. And that's the way it is for a lot of sports. Whether you're playing baseball or basketball, there are an incredible number of elements that you can improve studying other players, other teams, systems, to really make yourself a better player.
Right, I know that's what you want to eventually become. You're going to want to retire from being a doctor, and you want to be a coach full time. I mean, I know that people don't know how many books you actually read, and you know how we talk about it, and how in practice how you're really into the girls working on certain moves, spin moves, and really understanding the game. The problem is you know, you should be coaching a high school team where you have 5 practices a week to work on everything. And and it's tough because I can see it coaching with you. I can see what you're really trying to do with these girls, and it's tough because you need more time.
Right.
You need more time. Even when we have them in the winter where we play 50-something games, you're still only practicing once or twice a week.
Right.
And to get them to the point where you want to get them to and where I love to get them to, it's really tough because there's just not enough time to teach them everything. But you see what the girls are doing? They're trying to understand everything you're telling them, and I'm telling them. They're trying to do everything, and they're going to be better for it, but you just wish you had more time.
Well, players are much more apt to do what you ask them to do if they have an understanding of why you're asking them to do it. You know, we don't ask people to run through the wall. We don't do a lot of individual conditioning drills because we don't have to. We do our team drills that have conditioning baked into that. So Um, I'm not a big believer in making people run sprints or, endless laps. I'd much rather do fast break drills.
Yeah, and that's the key. Like, I can see and the thing is, you can't stay on one particular thing. I know from high school, from certain coaches, I like just to have the girls stand around, and they'll go over plays with them, and girls will be standing there for a half hour, and they'll be saying, what are we improving on here? We're just going to, does he want us to understand the play a little better? We already understand it, but he wants us to be perfect at it. And then when they get in the games, they're not doing it right because I think they're spending too much time at times. You should if you're going to spend time, 5 minutes here, and that's it. If they don't get it right away, go to something else because
Right.
they're going to get bored.
Well, I think Krzyzewski has a great line. You're not here to run plays, you're here to make plays. And the only way you can make plays is if you have the ability to execute. And the way you execute is you have to be able to practice those individual fundamental skills, have great footwork, learn how to shoot the ball, learn how to cut, learn how to do the things that are necessary to be successful.
But really surprised me. We had a player come down and practice with us the other day, a player who hasn't been with us, real good athlete. And it's funny to see, the fundamentals with some of the players, and she was having some problems, but I just told her, I said, watch your teammates. Watch how they pivot, watch their moves down low, watch where they square up with the ball, especially down low where you're a 4 or 5. And she was watching them, and she eventually got it down pretty good. But it's really funny to see, the players you've been working with. And they really do have the game down pretty good as 8th graders.
Right. Well, we do a lot of, not that everyone should care about the fundamentals of basketball, but we do a lot of work modeling players off the skill levels of players who are tremendously successful. For example, Paul Pierce. Pierce has a sequence of 5 moves that he uses regularly from the wing, predominantly from the left side. He can work from the right, but he likes to work from the left. He's going to his strong hand to the middle. So he can drive, burst of speed to the baseline. He does a hesitation move. He does a spin move back to the middle. He does a step back, especially going to his left, although he can go to the right, lean the shoulder in and back people off, and then a quick dribble into a jump shot. He does that all the time, and he's masterful at that sequence of moves. You don't need to have 50. I mean, there are people like Hakeem Olajuwon, who has a million moves. Durant has a lot of moves, but you don't need a load. Kevin McHale did step-aways and his up and under move. That was the bulk of his repertoire, and he's a Hall of Fame player.
Right. You need the players that you're coaching, you need them to want to do it. We're lucky enough that we have 11 girls that really want to improve their game, and 11 girls that listen to everything you tell them, and they catch on fairly quick. But like I said earlier on, you kind of wish you had more time to practice with them. Although this isn't basketball season.
Right.
We try to keep them going, once a week or twice a week, just so the girls that are playing AAU and other cities won't pass them. And it's worked well for us over the last 10 years doing this system because the girls actually, my belief is when you lay off it for a while, you get better. And then when you come back, you have the edge. And it's working well. The thing is, what we're trying to bring in now with the different moves, they're catching on, but you wish you just had more time with them.
Well, speaking of managing players, we have an unusual circumstance in Major League Baseball where the Washington Nationals are shutting down one of the top pitchers, Steven Strasburg, who's 6th in ERA, in the top 5 in wins and top 5 in strikeouts in the National League. He's a young player. They're trying to keep his innings down. So in 4 or 5 years, when he becomes a free agent, he's going to re-sign with them? Or is he going to go to the Yankees or the Red Sox because they offer him more money?
They're doing it because he hurt his arm out last year, and they don't
Right.
want it to happen again. But that's not the way you do things. You test them. They can even test the strength of his arm. But shut him down. What you do is he pitched 6 innings. He had 290-something pitches the last game, 6 shutout innings. Didn't get the win. But that's fine, okay? You're going to pitch 6 innings for the next 4 starts. You're going to stay under 90 pitches. I mean, something like that, I can see that. You want to keep his arm strong. But, I mean, we're still striking out over 10 batters every 9 innings.
Well, if you're a fan of the Nationals and you're shelling out, forget about your money.
It's stupid.
Your loyalty to your team that you really want to be successful, and then you hear they're going to shut down their top pitcher, you just be saying like, well, this is our chance. We can go to the postseason. We can be, You
But
know,
what are you thinking about? What are you thinking about there? He's not hurt. He's not even saying he's tired.
well, he had Tommy John surgery, so
Right.
his arm's
He's
better than it was.
stronger.
You know,
But
can
they're
you see
gonna-
the Yankees like shutting down Sabathia and saying, "Oh, you pitched enough this year"?
They're going to get so much pressure, though. I mean, they're going to have to pitch him. Maybe they'll say we're going to have to let him miss 2 starts. Something like that I can see.
Well,
Because they got a 6-game lead or something, 5 or 6
right,
games.
they've got a playoffs. I mean, unless they pull a Red Sox, they should make the postseason. You know, I just don't understand that. Now, speaking of, years ago in Baltimore, they had a pretty good team with Eddie Murray and so forth, and they hadn't been to the postseason for a long time. And the rallying cry for the Orioles was, "Why not?" Well, this year, they don't really have a great team, but they've sneaked up and they got even with the Yankees briefly. The Yankees have a small lead now. Fans in Birdland have to be crazed right now.
4-game series starting tonight, Yankees in Baltimore. You know my feeling. Again, I've been a Yankee fan since I was like 8 years old, and I've seen some great teams, and I've seen some teams overachieve. This team, I don't know how people say this. Well, you know
Yeah.
the story.
Well, the
They're
Orioles,
not as good as people think they are.
I don't think anybody on the planet can name 3 starters they have.
But you know what it is? They have that feeling. They're confident. They're playing with so much confidence now. They have good pitching. You know, Duquette did an excellent job getting these relief pitchers in. They got great bullpen, and they're winning all those 1-run games.
They've
What are they
been-
like 23-4 in one-run games?
They have an outstanding record.
And they've been outscored by like 50 runs, haven't they, this year?
I don't know how they're doing it. You know, and
They're winning the close games, and they're coming up with the big hits. Where the Yankees lose the close games, and I've been saying that for years, and they don't come up with the big hits. They'll hit home runs, you know, like Granderson has 30-some home runs. He's hitting 230. Anyone who thinks that that's solid, you know, 30 home runs to 230, I'd rather have a guy have 10 home runs that's hitting 300. That's on base a lot.
well, you know, a great hitter is not going to hit 230. I don't care what league you're in. And you know, the other interesting development in sports is the NBC Sports is coming up with this all sports channel. Well, they have the National Hockey League rights. Well, that's not going to do them much good if there's a lockout. So you have to feel a little sorry for NBC. I don't know what they're going to use for programming. We'll be watching 12-year-olds playing ping pong in Kansas.
Yeah, that's tough too with hockey. It's tough. I mean, I remember back when I was younger watching it on one of the top channels, and back then you couldn't follow the puck. Now it's a lot better. You can see the puck better, and the camera's angles a lot better than back then.
And we forgot the biggest news of the day. Brian Scalabrine is coming back to the Celtics, but not as a player, thank goodness. He's going to be in the broadcast team.
What's his name going? Marshall.
Oh, I think he's still going to be around.
They said he's going to be alongside, what's his name, Tangway.
I don't know. I didn't know
that's weird.
Marshall was going anywhere.
Well, Marshall,
Maybe he's going to the TV broadcast because maybe going to
Maybe.
be, you know, Heinsohn's
maybe, because he did the Olympics too, Marshall.
right.
Some of those
He's
basketball
He's
games.
good. And speaking of
They like
that,
him.
Doc Rivers was outstanding on the Olympic commentary.
Him and Collins. Him and Collins are unreal. They're good friends too, but they're two of the best.
Well, we'll be right back with the rest of the campaign after this.
Hey, this is Paul Rabel from the Boston Cannons, and you're watching Let's Talk Sports.
Welcome back. It's the Beating a Dead Horse segment as we talk about the Boston Red Sox. But maybe there's hope. How can you not start with discussing the trade recently where the Los Angeles Dodgers basically took the Red Sox problem children and $260 million or so off their hands and gave us more than a bucket of baseballs in return.
Yeah, that's funny. We way back when they made those deals for Gonzalez and Crawford, and we talked on this show before the season started last year. I remember saying, the fans here, don't get too cocky about those two deals. Number one, you're giving up 5-year top prospects for Gonzalez, and you're going to be paying him over $20 million when he shouldn't be getting over $14 million. In Crawford, $20 million when he should be getting around $10 or $11 million. I said, I don't know what the Red Sox are thinking about. And on top of that, they're losing Beltre. They're letting Beltre go, and they're letting Vimart, who tore up his knee. And you look at it, and again, I'm a Yankee fan. I look at it from that angle. I'm saying, what are the Red Sox thinking about? And people didn't realize back then, when you're saving all that money, you have a power-hitting Beltre at third for the next 5 years if you sign him. And that's what you need, number one. And you're giving up all that money, you're losing other players. You're not able to, sign another free agent, which they would have been able to. And you look at that line, and it goes back to the way I was thinking. And I don't know what people think about. I don't know what Theo Epstein thinks about when he signs a guy like Lugo and gives him $9 million when he hit 160 for the Dodgers the second half of the year. But making all these deals, Ron, it's just completely ridiculous.
Well, and if you're the fans going to see the last month of the season, you should have one word in the back of your mind: not rebuild, but refund. You're paying top dollar to see AAA guys play, if that. And the Red Sox have a lot of question marks going forward. And first of all, the guy who's almost nowhere to be seen is Larry Lucchino. Lucchino is the force behind many of the Red Sox transactions, and he has right of approval along with the other owners over what Cherington does. Now, I have no problem with what they did to restructure the team, to change the culture of the team, and make wholesale changes, and I think they need more. But Lucchino, when things are going well, he's out front beating his chest. We're developing the ballpark, we have a great team, and now he's kind of hiding out.
Yeah, I mean, you just look at that. I mean, the deal was good for them. Now they can make different moves if they have a chance to. I mean, they're not going to throw money away. They say the fans don't want him to go after Hamilton. Of course they want him to go after Hamilton. They don't want him to give him over $20 million, though. So you're going to go after him. Hamilton, I would say Hamilton 5 years at $16 million a year. A player like Hamilton, if you can get him. I mean, to me, that's a good move. But a lot of people say, well, they shouldn't go after him. Well, who are they going to sign then? If you're not going to go after guys like Hamilton, what are you going to get guys like Ross to come in?
Well, it's in finance they call it the winner's curse. And what it is that when you have a lot of people bidding for an object, whether it's an oil well or a gold mine, or basically commodities, because that's what players are, you tend to overpay for what you get. And as a result, when you overpay, you're sorry that you made that transaction.
Yeah.
How many of the big free agents has it really worked out that the teams, 7, 8 years later say, yeah, that was really a great deal? Not many.
They should all thank, the agents and players should thank Steinbrenner. Steinbrenner, he started all this by giving big money out. Now the other teams are trying to compete with the Yankees and give, like Philadelphia, giving Lee that big contract, giving Papelbon what he wanted.
Well, and the guys in the
$14
past,
million.
Andy Messersmith and Kurt Flood, those are the two guys who, challenging the reserve clause back in the 70s, really, along with Marvin Miller, changed sports, revolutionized sports. But, going back to the Red Sox, the next question is what to do with Bobby Valentine. Now, first of all, some people are saying it's now or never. Just get rid of him right now. And personally, I don't believe in that because I think that's telling the players you control who the manager is and how long they stay. No question, Valentine's got to be miserable. This has got to be his purgatory for the rest of his life. And he's going to get paid whether he gets released or not at the end of the season. But the players, seems to me, made an organized decision to try to get rid of Valentine. I don't see how you can reward them for that.
And you look at it too, right? It's unbelievable in Boston. I mean, Glenn Ordway asked him if he gave up. I mean, and everybody's applauding him. He goes, that's what everybody's thinking. That's what we're saying on the shows. So you should ask the tough questions. Ordway's an idiot. And a lot of these guys are idiots because they just want to get him to react so they can say, okay, Ordway got him to say this, that he's going to punch him. He asked him a tough question. So Ordway's great. It's better publicity for WEEI. But Ordway's a jerk. To ask that question, he's an idiot. You don't ask someone who's down on his luck, things aren't going well. You're asking him a question, did you give up? Or why did you come to the game late when he already said about 100 times that he went to pick up his son and he was delayed. He still got to the park just under 3 hours before the game.
Right.
I mean, these people are ridiculous, the press in Boston. They're even worse than New York and Philadelphia.
Well, I think the media wants to inject themselves into the story. And
that's what it's always been. That's why Ted Williams, go back to Ted Williams.
Well, that's why I think that one guy who doesn't try to do that is Zolak. I think he's done a pretty good job both on Sports Hub and then now as the radio co-host along with Gil Santos. He's an experienced NFL player, and he's seen it from both sides.
Right. I mean, but you're starting to see it with Felger. He's popular. A lot of people don't like him, but they listen to him. All the younger kids love him. You know, they like because he's, you know, outspoken or whatever. Half the time he doesn't know what he's talking about. He knows hockey a little, but the other stuff, he doesn't know football. And but he knows he doesn't know it. But he likes to, you know, get everybody into it, and people call.
Well, speak of, you know, along that line, the big issue right now, the hot button is, in Bill we trust. No, Belichick knows nothing. That's kind of what does he know about personnel decisions? Oh, he's only been in the NFL for 38 years. He probably doesn't know anything. He's been to how many Super Bowls? 7, something like that now?
But you know the funny thing with him is, why does anybody ever go to his press conferences? Why does anybody even ask him a question? Know what they should do? But then they said, and I was listening to his show, they said, well, he'll love it. They should have it. Everybody should go. I mean, they should have like 100 people there. And then he comes out and he goes, oh, you know, he says his two or three words, and then he'll say, okay, I'll take questions. No one should ask him a question. They should just stand there. Let him stand there for like a minute. He'll say, okay, thank you, and walk away. You know, I mean, why ask him a question? He doesn't answer them, and he thinks you're an idiot half the time for asking it.
Well, it's pretty much like the National Security Agency trying to get something out of Belichick. We got to coach better. We got to play better. We were really good on offense or defense or special teams, but we'll work on it.
But you know, it all comes down to the players. I mean, he's done a real good job, Belichick. I believe he's overrated. He's been to 5 Super Bowls.
Well, he's
with this
won
group.
5, and then he's been 2 more.
Yeah, I mean, he won 3 with the Pats and 2 more. But he was with the Giants when they won 2. But, you know, you look at it and say, how could you be a defensive genius and have the worst defense in football, and you rely on Brady to bring you to the Super Bowl? So you kind of wonder at times. And then he's signed all these free agents, then he's cutting them.
Well, I think that the game's evolved so much, and as I think you've said before, that the wide open game produces, you know, a need for a lot of speed, which they've gotten, a lot of youth. This is the youngest defense they've ever had, and also a different approach to the game. You know, okay, so you can stop the run. Well, that's great, except if nobody runs, it doesn't really matter.
Right. I think potentially this year, I'm hoping that their defense is one of the best in football. They got a lot of talent now, finally.
Well, they're going to give up yards because presumably they're going to score, and the other team's going to have to try to come back, respond, and throw the ball. So, you know, teams, if they move the ball up and down the field some, that's going to happen in the National Football
But you know what they have to get away from, Ron, are the zones. Belichick likes the zones because he wants teams to drive down without big plays, and maybe they'll turn the ball over, let him drive. But, you know, you're keeping Brady off the field by doing that. I want to see man-to-man.
Well,
man-to-man and blitz, more blitzing.
Well, the big issue is getting off the field on third downs. They've had one of the worst defensive third down conversion rate in the league, and you know, part of that was pass rush. But if you have a better pass rush, it's going to make your secondary look a lot better.
That's why Jones and Cunningham coming from the edges, and Ninkovich. I mean, if those guys play as good as they think they're going to play, with Wilfork coming up the middle with Love, it's a shame with Pryor. They were showing a film of Pryor the other day. Boy, did he look good. He's always hurt, though.
Back to the Red Sox. First, at catcher, I think you have to make a commitment to either Saltalamacchia or Lavarnway. I do not like Saltalamacchia that much as a receiver. You know, I like Lavarnway better. Saltalamacchia's got good power. I think he might bring you something in a package for another player, preferably a pitcher.
You like Lavarnway better defensively than Saltalamacchia?
Yeah, I don't like Saltalamacchia at all defensively.
I think his arms really come on well.
Well, I think he calls a bad game.
Well,
you know.
I haven't really looked at that part of it. I just think the pitchers stink now. And the Red Sox, I think that's a big reason.
And then at first base, they have no first baseman as of now. Loney is.
Well, Gomez is playing there now, right?
Yeah, you know, Gomez and Loney. Loney's a loner.
Well, that's what they're going to have to sign. They're going to have to find a first baseman.
Right, they're going to have to get a first baseman. I don't know where you're going to get that. Or I guess you could try to convert somebody like Lavarnway to a first baseman. Well, if people do that.
And they'll have Middlebrook back next year.
And Middlebrooks is at third, so they're set at third. Shortstop, Iglesias looks like he's got a wet noodle for a bat. I mean, pretty good defensive player. Doesn't look like he's going to hit enough to be a major league shortstop. You could probably put Siriaco in there as a fill-in.
Why even think of that? He should be a starting shortstop next year.
Well, Siriaco's
he's faster than anybody I've seen. I think he's as fast as Ellsbury or faster.
Well, I don't think he's as fast as Trout, but he's fast.
But he seems to make every play a shot. When I see him, he's so quick, and he's really, when he's at bat, even if it's a ground ball in the hole, he's going to beat it out most of the time. I mean, why not give him a shot?
Right. And then
you know what it is, history, Ron. They see his history. You know, he's 27. They see what he's done the first, since he's been 20, and he hasn't been real consistent. And now he's having a great year, and they don't trust him. That's what it is.
Well, it's better than what they got out there. And then in the outfield, the big issue is, what do you do with Jacoby Ellsbury? Scott Boras, who is the absolute best at what he does, is a salesman and a marketer for his players, trying to get them, and ultimately him, his cut of the take. I understand that. For me, if Ellsbury is going to have a contract year, which would bring him up to MVP status, then he does it, and then if you have to let him go, you let him go. But as far as giving Ellsbury long-term deal, huge money, I don't see it.
Well, here's what Brocious is telling him, thinking about. He goes, you have one more year after this with the Red Sox. Hit 300, hit 20 home runs, steal 50 bases, and I'll get you about $18 million to $20 million a year. And you'll get it because you'll go in a free agent market. There may be one or two other players that are close to you, and you'll have about 10 teams bidding on the three of you. And they'll want someone like Ellsbury, a leadoff batter that has some power, that steals bases, that is a very good outfielder, and they'll overpay him. Where he should be getting $12 million, they'll give him 18 to 20.
Well, baseballreference.com is a great site to look at players because they have something called similarity scores. So if you look at any point in a player's career, it will give you who they were most like at that age. So, for example, if you were looking at a Hank Aaron, you're going to see people like Willie Mays and Roberto Clemente and Jimmy Fox, great players. Now, if you look at among the top players who are most similar to Jacoby Ellsbury, you see a guy like Lyman Bostock. Now, some of you who are ardent baseball fans may remember who Lyman Bostock was. However, most of you won't, because you shouldn't. And at the end of the day, Jacoby Ellsbury is not a consistent all-star player. He's certainly not a Hall of Fame player. He's had one spectacular season where he was number 2 in the MVP race and deserved it. But this year he has 2 homers and his on-base slugging percentage is something south of 670, which is mediocre, not average.
Yeah, you don't know if he's still hurting from his injury, but this year's not important.
Right.
It's next year. If he has a good year next year, not a great year, a good year, he's going to get the money because every team bids against each other, and they're going crazy. And you know my feeling, and you look at me like I'm crazy about Sabathia. He has this just amazes me, Ronnie. He had a 7-year contract for the Yankees. After 3 years, he's got a player option, right?
And
he can play it out. So he's making 19 or 20 million with the Yankees for 7 years. So after the 3 years, he decides to become a free agent. The idiot Yankees and Cashman, who's as worse than Theo Epstein, he decides that they're going to give him 6 years at 23 million. So they let him play out his option where he had 4 more years at 19, and they sign him for 6 more years at 23. And what are they signing? They're signing a good to very good pitcher, not a great pitcher, and they're giving him $23 million for what? When they go up against Baltimore, he gives up 4 runs in the biggest game of the year, and he constantly does that? I want to see him pitch like Gibson used to in a big game and shut you down.
Years ago, I looked at when the Johan Santana trade almost happened, what the fate of the top pitchers in baseball were over 6-year period, because they were talking about a 6-year deal, from age 28 to 34, something like that. How many games did the best pitchers of the day win at that time? So Bob Gibson, 4-man rotation. He won something like 17 and a half games per year. Roger Clemens, 13. That was, until he got back on some kind of performance-enhancing drugs, allegedly. Pedro Martinez was around 15. Maddox was around 15. So, you're looking at 15 wins a year for the, quote, great pitchers of their era from in that age. And again, that was without performance-enhancing drugs that presumably nobody has anymore. So if you're shelling out $25 million a year for a pitcher, expecting him to win 20 games every year, that doesn't happen. It's not Walter Johnson and Grover Cleveland and Christy Mathewson. When guys had 45 starts or 50 starts a year and won 30 games. That's not the way it is. And you're just blowing away money.
Right. And you look at teams like the Yankees and Philadelphia. Well, they say the Yankees have the highest payroll in baseball. They should win. It's almost $200 million a year. But they have the highest payroll. But when you look at the players and what they're worth, that $200 million, if you look at the players and see what they're worth, it's probably $120 million worth of players.
Well,
But they're overpaying everybody,
Right.
so people say, well, they have the highest payroll. Now you look at Billy Beane for Oakland, you see how he does it, and Duquette, how he works it, how he loads his bullpen with the best bullpen you could have. Both of them have a great bullpen. That's one of the reasons why they're doing real good. And they spend their money the right way. So when they say the Yankees have the highest payroll, they should be good. Who do they have? When someone gets hurt, who do they have? Jones? Andrew Jones coming off the bench? I mean, that's great having Andrew Jones. Or the bullpen, who half the people don't even know half the pitchers are in the bullpen.
Well, it's great to have fill-in players like Chavez and Jones who have done a good job in roles, but
They can't play all the time.
Right, if they have to
And
play
Knicks,
every day.
They finally brought up Nunez, who had a good year for them last year. He didn't do good in the minors, but they just brought him up with Dickerson. Two guys who are pretty good, but they're guys that are making less than $500,000 a year. They got to rely on guys like that. But, I mean, you just look at the money. Billy Beane it's unbelievable the way he's done it. That's the way you do it. Not the way the Red Sox and Yankees do it. They throw away money and hope some of it
Well,
sticks.
it'd be a lot better to spend an extra $3 to $5 million on great scouts and development, and then you could have
Right.
players rather than throw, $5 million at an Aaron Cook someday.
But, the thing with the Red Sox and Yankees, they have so much pressure on them that they think they have to overpay. But the biggest joke besides, A-Rod's the biggest joke, almost $30 million a year, when right now he's worth maybe $8 million, the most. He's that type of player. So he's getting $22 million more at his level right now. He's an $8 million player making almost $30 million. Sabathia is making $23 million. He's worth maybe $14 million. I mean, you look at that, how much money they've thrown away with just those two players. And then you keep going down with some of the pitches it's unbelievable. It's just a disaster in baseball.
We'll be right back with our next segment.
You heard enough?
Welcome back. It's football season, September. We'll talk about the Patriots and a little bit about high school sports. First, one thing about the Patriots and cut down is no one is safe. Bill Belichick's ultimate goal this year is to have 53 players on the roster who are tight ends. Some of them can play other positions maybe, but every day there's another tight end in here, whether it's Kellen Winslow or some Hawaiian guy with an unpronounceable name like Manauia, something like that.
Well, Gregory, the safety man, looks good for one guy, one free agent. But a note I like, was it the guy Salas? Is he the end they picked up?
Oh, Salas from the Rams.
I mean, you look at him last year, Ronnie, he had 27 receptions in 6 games as a rookie. Then he broke his leg. He's 6'1", 200 pounds. He may turn out to be a real prize for them.
Well, I think Belichick obviously trusts McDaniels, so he's relying on his opinion, bringing in some guys who are familiar with the system. And Deion Branch was a terrific player for the Patriots. He was one of their own developed players, drafted out of Louisville in the second round, MVP of the Super Bowl. We all remember that, but he's slowed down a lot. He's lost a step, and even though he was pretty reliable in catching the ball mostly, forget about the Super Bowl.
No separation, right?
Exactly. He can't get separation anymore, and you need that quickness at the end to escape NFL defensive backs.
They say Salas really cuts well, gets separation off his cuts. He's very good at setting up the cornerback, so we'll see. But if he turns out to be, I think he's 22 or 23. Again, 6'1 and a half. He's going to be a key receiver for Brady. Plus, he can play the slot too.
Right.
If Welker goes down.
And with that no one is safe mentality, obviously Bobby Hoyer had his last days. Now, of course, he could be brought back. Now, I haven't heard that anybody picked him up because he didn't look that good during preseason. The issue I have, and God forbid that Mallett ever gets on the field, is Mallett throws a lot of high balls that expose the receivers to bad hits. He's not that accurate. Hopefully he's working on his accuracy.
But he looked a lot better this year.
Oh, he
it's
did.
a huge improvement from last year.
Right.
He got into great shape, slimmed down. He's 6'6". He threw one touchdown pass, a down and out.
Yeah, he's
and
tall. He's got a strong arm.
No, but he made a beautiful pass, a bullet pass for a touchdown in one of the
To
games.
Silvestro, right?
So he looked calm in the games. He looked under control. He needs to keep playing. He's young, but he could be a prize in a couple of years. Who
Right.
knows?
Yeah,
I feel bad for Hoyer, but I think the big reason why he got cut is because he was going to be making $1.9 million this year, and you kind of feel bad because if he had that $1.9 million, he would have been kind of set for a while.
Right. I haven't really seen what the reworked salary cap numbers are for the Patriots now. I know that they paid a lot of money out in bonuses.
Fanini, whatever his name.
Fanini, they're trying to recoup. He got 3.9 total, and apparently they're saying he was hurt and didn't disclose that.
That happens a lot. That happened. Well, not to get
Yeah.
away from football, but that happened with the Yankees with Pineda. He was hurt when they traded Montero for him.
And then, longtime center Dan Copen, he was limited because he didn't have any versatility besides playing center. He has another guy who had a big contract, so it was easy to see why his days would be numbered.
Well, you're going to hear someday that he's starting center for some team, because he understands the game. He was a real good center for the Patriots. He hasn't lost that much, but when you have Conley who can play all over the place, and Conley's better than him, And
Are you surprised that Waters hasn't come back?
yeah, that's weird. I thought that he was definitely coming
I mean,
back.
I'm just figuring it's money.
It's got to be. I mean, they haven't signed, so he can't go to another team.
Right.
So, I mean, if they don't have him, who's the other guy they like at the offensive line?
Wendell.
Wendell. They like him. They may slide Conley to right guard and start Wendell at center.
Well, and then Cannon, I think, is a lot better as a guard than, he has a little
can't
trouble
play
with the edge guys.
I mean, you're playing out a tackle one-on-one with those speed guys. I mean, he's 6'4", 350 pounds.
Yeah, when he gets his hands on you, you got trouble.
Yeah, so put him in, he should be at guard. It's weird that they put him at tackle, but that's when Vollmer was hurt, and, and you got to hope that he's healthy this year because that's going to be a key.
Now, if you said, ranking by yards, do you think the Patriots are going to be in the top third, most yards allowed, middle third, or bottom third in yards allowed this season defensively?
Well, you're right. Because of Brady and the Patriots scoring a lot, teams are going to be throwing more to try to catch up. So you usually give up more yards that way. So, but I think early on, I think the Pats defense can dominate games. That's what I'm looking for.
So where would you project the team to finish, let's say, in yards allowed for the, last year where they were 31st, something like that?
I would say about 14th or 15th. They're better than that. I would actually say maybe 8th, 9th, or 10th in that area. But because they score so many points and teams will be throwing more, they'll be giving up.
All right, so I'll say 20th in yards allowed. How about points scored allowed?
Defense?
Right.
Probably around the same spot, 15, 16, around there.
All right, I'll say 14 on points scored because they're still going to go with the bend but don't break defensive approach.
Well, that's what we were talking about. Are they going to play man-to-man? The cornerback's going to play up on the receivers? Are they going to play zone? If they play zone,
Now they kept a lot of defensive backs. They have 6 cornerbacks.
well, Darling's going to be a key.
Well, if he can stay
And
healthy.
McCourty better have a year this year. I mean, if he starts off bad, I'd bench him.
Well,
I know Moore's hurt.
he was named one of the captains.
Yeah, but I mean,
No.
I mean, he hits. He's athletic. I thought they put him at safety, but now they have Gregory and Wilson
Well,
with Chung.
and Gregory and Chung have both
And
been
then what's
hurt.
his name? The guy
Ebner.
Ebner. I mean, they got some good safety men.
I mean, I wrote into Field Yates, one of the Globe writers, and said, this guy Ebner looks pretty good. I think it's a fluke, and he said, he's a former scout for the Chiefs, as well as a writer, and he said, no, I mean, it's not all luck. The guy's got a lot of ability. He just didn't have much experience.
Yeah, I mean, he looks real good. He hits hard. Looks like he's in the right spot all the time. He made that interception in one of the games. And then they have that guy from Nebraska. Is it Denard? Denard, they're high on him. And Denard's said, I've grown up a lot since my first day here. I came here and I saw the way the Patriots did things, and it really helped me
He's got
a
an
lot.
unusual build. I don't know, I can't even describe him. For a cornerback, he's got the biggest legs I've ever seen. He looks like Earl Campbell.
Belichick loves him. He stays right on the receiver. He says he's very good. He's like glued to the receiver. So we'll see. He's not going to start. But Moore is hurt. I mean, Moore had that great in the last 4 games of the season for the Pats. But he's hurt. I don't know how bad he is.
All right, so who do who would be your surprise player for the season who's going to achieve more than anybody expects?
I would say two guys on defense, Ninkovich and Cunningham.
Oh,
I think they're both going to be stars this year. I mean, everybody's high on Jones. He's a rookie. I mean, he's got a lot of publicity. But I know you love.
Well, I think Hightower is going to be.
Well, people are looking at him like he's going to have a good year.
Yeah, I think he's still going to deliver more than expected.
But I think Spikes is going to lead that linebacker core.
Well, if he can stay healthy too.
But they're strong. They gave up they got rid of Carpenter, which was surprising. But Rivera, you see in that last game against the Giants, those three linebackers played good. Is Tapani one of them?
Tarpinian.
Tarpinian, and then that another guy in Rivera. They all played real good, and they kept Rivera.
Well, they had another guy who's very good on special teams and decent linebacker, Kudavides, and I think he got hurt.
He looked good in the game. He got hurt.
He was hurt, so I think he just.
The three of them looked real good in that game against the Giants, and that was against the Giants' first unit.
So nobody picked him up either because they know he's hurt. So there's not much.
I think the Pats will re-sign him.
I do
think
too.
They like him a lot.
There's going to be injuries, regrettably, and along the way, and they say Branch's locker still has stuff in it. So I don't know what that means.
But there's a lot of talent on that defense, Ron.
All right.
There's a lot of talent.
What do you think the regular season record will be?
14-2.
All right, I'm going to take 12-4. I just think the National Football League is tough, even though the schedule's softer by winning percentage of opposition. I think Buffalo, they had a lot of trouble with Buffalo last year, and I think they'll split with Buffalo.
Well, I'm more worried about the offense to get them to 14-2. I think the defense, finally, Belichick I think he's back. He hasn't had too much success with his defense over the last few years. I think he's got a lot of talent there, and potentially that defense could be real good and dominate some games.
Well, if you draft enough defensive players, eventually you should develop somebody.
Yeah, well, Cunningham's going to be a key. And Jones, if they can get pressure, but you still need that pressure up the middle.
Well, the surprising thing that people are talking about Jones is they said he seems to have a much bigger array of moves than they thought he had. Obviously in the National Football League, everybody's big, strong, fast, but not everybody has technique.
Yeah, one of their games against Tampa, he was getting in there every time, but the quarterback was Freeman, was it?
Right.
Was getting rid of the ball real quick, but he was just missing a number of times. So I'm just hoping that he keeps improving and becomes a player they hope he can be.
All right, and as far as the end of the season, where do you think the Patriots are going to? What will be the last game they play?
A Super Bowl.
All right, I'll say they lose in the AFC Championship.
To who?
I don't know, Baltimore.
Pittsburgh or Baltimore?
Right. I don't want that, but the teams that have been to the Super Bowl and lost haven't done well the next year.
But like we said, we talked about that last show. A lot of teams, when they get to the Super Bowl, the reason why they get there is because they have talented players and teams are going after them. Who have the Patriots lost from last year's team? They're stronger than last year's team.
They should be.
The thing with them last year is they got better and better as the year went on. They actually played their best game against the Giants in the Super Bowl. But, I mean, they've had luck winning Super Bowls, and they've had bad luck the two times they lost to the Giants.
And the point that's well taken about football, it usually turns on a few plays, and we don't have to rehash which ones there were, but there were a few plays the Patriots didn't make, Giants did make. And
and you look at Brady now, and I'm like, Brady's like Pierce to me. Pierce is my favorite basketball player, but he doesn't play well. You got to say it. When he misses a lot of big shots. They talk about all the big shots he makes, but Pierce misses a lot of big shots in key situations. Well, same thing with Brady. Brady in probably the last 10 big games he's played in, he hasn't come through, Ron, in key situations, although he completed 12 passes in a row against the Giants, and Welker dropped that ball.
And the other factor that really wasn't talked about so much is Gronkowski was playing on one leg. He couldn't run, and that was a big factor. Injuries happen.
But that's why I'm high on them, right? Gronkowski was hurt in that Giant game. The Patriots stripped 3 balls in that game. They didn't came up with one, but Ninkovich was offside. They had 12 players in the field.
Speaking of Gronkowski, how can one not appreciate the news that came out about Gronkowski today? Apparently, he's been doing gigs where he gets invited to people's birthday parties, $10,000 or more for an hour to play drinking games. Beer pong at $10,000 an hour. Good Lord.
Brady's got to talk to him, that's for sure. I wonder what Belichick is thinking.
Well, people, his family said, look, if people offer you stupid money to go play a drinking game for an hour, and first of all, we don't do that, but nobody's going to offer us money to do it either.
Right, if he doesn't play well, which he'll play well, but if he doesn't play well, he's going to hear it. He's going to hear
You
it big
think?
time from the
Yeah,
fans.
from
the
Belichick,
press.
Mr. Drinking Game.
That's right, and he's got 2 other tight ends too. You don't think, but he's going to have a big year. He's so
All right.
talented.
Now, fortunately, we have school is open, and we have high school sports that have already begun. I particularly enjoy volleyball, but we'll be hopefully seeing volleyball and football tomorrow. Melrose has a little homestand at the beginning of the year, opening up with Belmont. And in Danny Ventura's preseason players to watch, there were 3 Melrose players listed.
Real one.
Brian Reel,
Ferreira.
Shane McKinley,
Oh, McKinley.
and Nick Campbell. So now, again, that doesn't necessarily slight any of the other players who may have outstanding seasons too, but those were players that were picked out by Danny V of the Herald, who's a pretty sharp guy with high school sports.
Yeah, Real is going to have he's going to have a good season. He really came on last year as a quarterback. Funny thing with him too is he'd be their best safety man. He'd be a great free safety. Campbell's a free safety on that team where they play 2 cornerbacks and a safety. They don't want Real getting hurt. And so Reel's just a great athlete. He's going to score a lot of touchdowns, running the ball. He can throw the ball well. Campbell, that's a good selection. Very good safety. He had a good year last year. He'll play end too for the team.
Well, tall,
And
rangy kid.
McKinley's a surprise. I'm surprised Ventura picked him up because McKinley is quick as a cat. I mean, I like him a lot.
Well, there's some passing teams in
Well,
the
they-
league. Reading
Right.
is going to be a passing team. Watertown's a passing team. So, you need to have
Redding's
good
going to
pass
be very
defense.
good passing the ball. I mean, they have a real good quarterback. I think he's a sophomore, but he was real good last year.
Right. I can't remember his last name. His first name, I think, was Drew.
Melrose has a lot of talented players. It's the lines. Hopefully these young kids can come through because they're going to be young at the line. And I think is it Ferreira? I believe he's back.
He's the
He had a
returning
real good year
lineman.
last year.
Right.
Squizero, I believe that's how you pronounce his name. He was a junior last year, I believe, or a sophomore or junior. He's talented.
Now, I'm not sure. Is this Coach Morris's 20th year here?
I don't know.
He's been here a long time.
But he's got some talent. There's a lot of talent there. If they've worked at their game like the previous 2 teams, they're going to be real tough to beat. I just looked at a lot of talent, at fullback, at running back. They're going to have good linebackers, good safety men.
Well, this time of year,
Anderson's back, so Anderson will probably be a
yeah,
cornerback.
this time of year, nice weather and beautiful new football complex. Expect a big crowd. Should be a great night.
Yeah, by the time they see the show, if they see the show, the game will be played. It's tomorrow night.
Right, right. We
So-
haven't heard anything about the kicking game, which proved
Yeah.
costly at the end of the season last year.
That'll cost them the game.
All right, they missed 3 field goals, and one of them was returned.
Far field goal
Far field
for
goal.
Wakefield. They beat them 3-0.
Yeah.
So I mean, they haven't had luck against Wakefield through the years. I've seen a lot of the games, especially that 14-14 tie.
I would imagine that Reading is probably picked as the team to beat this season.
Well, they're in this big division. Melrose in the small division with the team. They lost to Burlington last year in
All
a
right,
tough
Burlington's
game,
still good.
and they lost to Wilmington in a tough game last year. But Melrose had a great year. I mean, they were 8-3, I believe.
8-3.
Could have just as easily been 11-0. I mean, they lost 3 tough games. But the game against Wilmington, which was played on grass, I believe, they had a tougher time on grass. And it was funny. That was the one game where their line got outplayed. Every other game, their line outplayed the team. Reading, they outplayed. Woburn, they outplayed. Wakefield, they outplayed. And it was just tough luck. But 8-3's record in that league is real good.
Volleyball opened their season yesterday with a 3-set victory over the Bedford Buccaneers. It was very warm in the gymnasium yesterday. It had to be at least 90 degrees. Some of the players looked like they'd been out swimming before the game. They were soaked in perspiration. The team has new uniforms this season.
They look good.
They- Apparently the players had some role in choosing the uniform design after the budget was laid out by the athletic director. And they have a few lineup changes this season. Alyssa DeRaphael was the Middlesex League MVP last season, and she's been currently replaced at libero by Jill McGinnis. Jill did nice job yesterday. I don't really think she made any mistakes. And, they returned 2 All-State players in Brooke Bell and Sarah McGowan. And maybe their best all-around player, serving, defending, passing, and spiking, is Jen Kane. So I think if the team works out as expected, Kane has a chance to be an All-State player too.
Yeah, and you got Cometto and Nolan playing in the back row a lot. They
Right.
look real good.
Allie
yesterday.
Nolan's one of 2 sophomores, along with Stephanie Krovo, who've made the team. And they have a very experienced team with 7 seniors. So we're looking for great things from the volleyball team. There's some wonderful attractions this year at the middle school gym. They'll have Central Catholic in, who's one of the always top teams in the north. They have Brockton, which is one of the powerhouses in the state.
They're coming in soon, aren't they,
Brockton's
Brockton?
in 2 to 3 weeks. And they're playing in an evening game, so that'll be a great game. And senior night, they're going to finish up with Newton North, another top team from the area in Division I. So it's really an outstanding schedule this season. The non-league schedule is so important because, unfortunately, we have expansion volleyball this year. I haven't quite heard. I know Woburn is in the league for 1 game now, and the last schedule I saw, I had Wakefield listed twice, and then I've heard different things as to whether they're going to play them or not. So
Well,
I really don't know.
Right, if people that don't know, I mean, this is 1 year. Melrose over the last, over the last, how many years now have they been to the Division II Norths?
They've been to the Division II North Championship 9 consecutive years.
9 years in a row, and they've always been considered, maybe the 3rd, 4th, 5th best team in the state. The year your daughters played, they lost in the finals.
Right.
They lost in the final. Who was it to?
Medfield.
To Medfield, and when they played with my daughter, they lost in the semifinals to Marlboro. But last year, they played Marlboro, who ended up number 2 in the state.
Right after Barnstable.
And it was a great match against Marlboro. It was one of the best matches I've ever seen. And Marlboro ended up winning it. And again, Barnstable was 1 and they were 2. This year, my prediction is that Melrose is the number 1 team in the state. Just looking at the team this year, looking how they played against Marlboro last year, how they really raised their level of game, and the kids have all worked extremely hard to better themselves. So I pick them to be the number 1 team in the state. It's a lot of pressure on them, but the girls don't care. They feel they're the best team now anyway. Right?
Well, they're just going out to play, and I don't know. The MaxPreps.com site lists Barnstable as the number 11 team in the country. That's impossible because there's probably 20 teams in California better than any team in Massachusetts.
Well, I'll tell you, Melrose will get better and better. I know Coach Shelley's teams, they get better and better as the year goes on. Sometimes they needed to lose. I told them last night, sometimes you need to lose a game to really improve. But these girls know enough from last year. They had that experience. And that's the best sport. When you have 2 great volleyball teams playing against each other, there's nothing better than that. Better than basketball, better than football, to me.
Well, the difference between volleyball and other sports is there's a point scored on every play. So every play counts.
But
sort
it's a
of
great
like golf.
game run. When there's 2 great teams, that last year I think it was against Central that I saw.
Right, you saw
and then
Central,
Reading-
and Westboro was a great game here,
and Westboro
unfortunately, that they
and
lost.
Marlboro. I mean, there's nothing like every point is huge. I mean, they're diving to the floor. They're making great bumps. They're setting up the girls at the net, and they're spiking. Then the other team's playing great defense. I mean, it's just a great sport when you have 2 great teams. That's why I'm looking forward to seeing Reading will still be good tomorrow.
Yeah, Reading is pretty much perennially one of the top 2 teams in the Middlesex League. When Melrose hasn't won in the last decade, it's been Reading. Stoneham is an improving up-and-coming team.
And Burlington lost yesterday, but they've got better.
Yeah, Burlington had improved
Stoneham
pretty
did,
well.
Lexington.
Winchester had also come along. But I think it's Melrose, Reading, Stoneham at the top of the league, and then we'll see what happens from there.
But people should go. I mean, just look in the paper and see when they're playing Brockton. Is Central coming here?
Central's coming here.
See when they're playing Central. See when they're playing Newton North. I mean, go to those games because you're never going to see volleyball like that. I mean, it's just unbelievable.
The so-called platform skills in volleyball involve passing, serve, receive, and digging. The platform is when the players get their arms extended and the ball contacts their arms. And how good your team is at passing determines how good your team is at the end of the day. great passing teams are always going to be successful. You'll find enough hitting if you get the passers. And this is, in the 10 years or 11 years that I've watched Melrose volleyball, this is the best passing team I've seen. And these are teams that have been championship teams 6 times in Division II North and gone to the state championship twice. So that's saying a lot. 7 seniors, experienced players. It's going to be a dogfight for those rotation positions. They have one outside hitter position that's still open and competitive, and the lineup's not set. It's early in the season. I'm sure that the coaching staff is still a tryout.
Oh yeah, he'll look at it, and then Bishop Fenwick's coming in too, and Arlington Catholic.
I think they're at Fenwick this year.
How about Arlington Catholic?
I think we might be there too. With the AC gym leaves a little bit to be desired.
But for any fan that wants to go watch volleyball, don't go watch Melrose play a team like Watertown. You don't want to see that because you're not going to enjoy the game. Because Melrose is going to win just about every point, and go watch the real good teams. When you have, again, 2 great teams, there's nothing like watching volleyball, high school volleyball.
Yeah, I think that if for people who are new fans or new to high school sports watching it, if you watch a game or 2, you'll be hooked, and you'll want to come and get to know the sport as well as the players, because it's really entertaining, and the kids always play really hard for Coach Kelly.
Right, it's just right, and he's a great coach. And what I really enjoy about him, Ron, they get better and better as the year goes on. And if they have a tough match, right after that, they're playing their best volleyball. You see it every year with his teams.
Right, I read a book recently by a guy named Kevin Sivils, who is a basketball coach from Texas, but he has written a book that's on designing effective practices for team sports. My acronym is DEPS, D-E-P-T-S, but he goes into great detail, regardless of the sport, what you need to do. You have to develop first a culture, a standard, things that are inviolable that you believe in, and certainly Coach Shelley's done that. And then you have to understand the psychology and working with players to be successful, as well as designing and elaborating team goals. It's not Ralph or I who decide what kind of goals these teams should have. The coaches and players have to make that determination of, not just outcome goals, but also what you might call process goals. For example, the goal might be to have no more than 3 service errors for the game, the entire match, as well as having a minimum of 10 kills per set. Those are just possible goals, not necessarily that this team should have. And then it's important to have ability to give players feedback on what they need to do to improve, not only individually, but how they can help the team improve. There are going to be players, for all I know, there might have been players who are on the team because they're there as much for their volleyball ability, but also their ability to accept a different role than another player might not be able to accept a role on the bench.
You know what else you hope for, Ron? It's so important. You hope you have a coach like Chelly who cares more about the players than himself and cares about the program. The problem you have in high school sports, too many coaches care about themselves. What kind of record are they going to have? What kind of talent am I going to be working it with? And what you see a lot of times, when they have the great talent, they'll work hard with that talent. When they don't have the great talent, they got to bring that talent up. Sometimes they don't give what they should give, and that's too bad, because I see it in sports, and I don't want to get into it that much. I've got into it in the past, and that's what really bothers me, watching these kids coming up working hard, and then seeing that the coach really doesn't care about them as much as themselves.
Well, one thing that Ralph and I live by, our motto is, civility is the glue that holds society together. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Ron Sen.
And I'm Ralph LaBella, and thank you for watching Let's Talk Sports.